right, thank you for staying with the State of the Nation. We start the discussion right now. We'll focus more on the State of the Nation address by the President, which is coming up in just a short while. This is made an address to both houses of Parliament, the Senate and the National Assembly. We'd like to hear from you. What should he lay emphasis on? At Trevor Mbiji at Citizen TV Kenya, use the hashtag Daybreak. But before that, we'll talk about the issues around the Meru governor's impeachment. Mwangaza survives impeachment bid as senators dismiss MCA's allegations. I have two senators in the House, Honorable Richard Onyonka, Senator for Kisii, Honorable Eddie Okech, Senator for Migori, and Honorable John Kagushi, a Member of Parliament from Kurueni, is now joining us. Thank you all so much for making time. This is how they voted. Late last evening, the senators voted on each charge separately, starting with the misappropriation and misuse of county resources. It was 19 against 28. Nepotism and unrelated unethical practices, 42 against 5. Bullying and vilification and demeaning other leaders, 44 against 3. Illegal appointments and usurpation of statutory powers, 26 against 20. Contempt of court, 44 against 3. Illegally naming a public road after her husband, 43 against 4. And contempt of the Assembly, 7 against 10. Onyonka, I'll start with you on this. What did you make of that entire standoff between the Meru MCAs and the governor that led to this vote by the Senate?
Good morning, Trevor.
Morning.
My observation and analysis is purely based on my understanding that the problems that you have in Meru are actually political. And when you try and analyze the scenario, it takes a lot of energy to analyze the political implication of what has been happening in Meru. The fact that, one, you have got all the leadership, you're talking about the senators, the members of the National Assembly, the other leaders within Meru who are, plus those the MCAs who are on the gallery, all of them being on the opposite side, and then you have Madam Mwangaza's on one side. My general feeling is that, number one, Madam Mwangaza started having sympathy from senators and indeed Kenyans, because we don't vote in a vacuum. You receive messages. Some people will send stories. They'll tell you reasons why you should vote in a certain way or not in a certain way. But when you now had the videos and the clips being shown from yesterday, the presentations were nearly at the same level. It was more like a 50-50 kind of thing. The MCAs have issues, yes. Are they quantifiable, provable, and with data and intelligence? No. Is she innocent completely? No. Are there some things that need to be looked at? Yes. Are they legal? Most probably not. Are they morally unacceptable? Chances are yes. So this was the balance we were going through. Then finally, I think her presentation and eventually her last speech, where she literally made a lot of people nearly cry. She said, I'm sorry, I apologize if there's anybody I've wronged, which was very humble. It really blew some of us back. We were like, But they've been saying that she's hard-headed and she will never apologize to anybody. So the whole exercise for me was that justice was done. I think the leadership of Meru needs to go back to the drawing board. The members of the county assembly did their job, even though it looked like they were the hatchet men. They were the ones who were set to plan, to coordinate, to organize the whole exercise. But I want to say, Trevor, that I think we need to begin to explain to each other what this democracy thing we have is all about in our country. How are counties meant to be managed? Was it a winner-take-all, or was it through consultation, public hearings, engaging leadership? This I think, the Meru case is an explanation, is a display of the dysfunctionality of county governments. And this is not just in Meru. Meru was just a larger extent. We have been having the same issues in Kisii. We've been having same issues. I'm told there's something in Busia like this. You have Kericho the other day. It is the president who intervened for the deputy governor to even be allowed into the office. Even Kiambu, we are having the story with Wamatangi. So these are the teething problems. They are making us now begin to, the Senate has become more more engaged, more involved. We are now analyzing actually any matter which is brought to the House as close to the law as it can be. And I think the Senate literally vindicated itself in the eyes of Kenyans. There was a lot of public sympathy for Governor Kawira.
Okay.
Not that she was completely innocent. I think that sympathy made the men leaders in the National Assembly at the Senate, begin to ask ourselves, how do you distinguish the epithets and the abuses she suffered, which were sexually based, and you telling me that she's just a bad manager, maybe a little bit excessive. So at the end of it all, the sympathy and the exercise is not purely, Trevor, it's not legal.
Okay.
It's a quasi-legal political solving. We had to look at everything, but more on the political side. And yesterday, I think the team that was against Madam Kawira lost, not because, according to the way I hear some people say that, the men have been vindictive and they've been harsh. I think Meru's problem was a mix of the cultural hate for the woman. Not that all men in Meru hate women, but there is that thing. Then you see so much people out here discussing our genitalia to express their political dissent. I think Kenyans now slowly are going to start looking at leadership differently.
Okay.
Number two, lastly, I think we as leaders now realize that actually what we say has consequences. Okay. And we have to be a little bit more careful than throwing out and insulting our colleagues and telling everybody what it is.
Eddie, you also there until the last minute. Was this vote based on emotions or facts?
Thank you, Trevor, and good morning to all Kenyans who have tuned in and any other person who has tuned in to watch this conversation this morning. I think that my view is a little bit different. I think that there are people who have taken the Senate to be, a house that will proceed over a political process. And I think that's where people sometimes get it wrong with things like impeachment, because actually impeachment is a legal process, because it's established under the Constitution, under Article 181, the reasons and grounds for removal of a governor from office. Those reasons are legal reasons, to the extent that they are stated in the Constitution. And there are four simple reasons. One is that a governor can be removed from office if they grossly violate the Constitution. Grossly, that's the word. That means that if you are looking at the substance of the issues that are brought to you and you want to substantiate them, they have to meet a gross violation. Number two, the governor can be removed from the office if there is serious reasons to believe that they have committed something like a criminal issue. Now, in our country, criminal matters are not small issues. And you have to look at those issues whether they reached a criminal level. Number three, there has to be abuse of office or a gross misconduct to the extent that you can substantiate that accusation. And lastly, just like any other leader, the governor can be removed from office if they are physically or mentally incapacitated. And if you go through every single allegation that was brought before the House yesterday, I do appreciate the MCS for bringing out the issue that they brought. It means that there are issues in Meru, and those issues need to be solved. But to the extent that they meet the threshold of removal to a governor, that was the question. And I think that the Senate yesterday, really, the senators in the House yesterday really rose the bar of what the Senate is actually looking at and what the role of the Senate in Kenya is. But that said, I also think that because the conversation has been that this was a political process that was being managed by the Senate, and that basically means that politically people think that governors are the only people who are in danger of being removed from office, so that you can use that sometimes as a political tool, and therefore use the Senate as a theater of solving political problems or gaining some political advantage. And this sometimes comes strongly on deputy governors who perhaps want to rise to be governors. We have seen this a number of times. And The good thing is that the Senate has cautioned that it will not be used as a theater of solving those kind of political problems. Number two, there hasn't been clarity in terms of our political arrangement on what actually happens if a governor is elected as an independent and finds herself or himself with an assembly that has got majority from one party and another party not independent. Because it was not perhaps foreseen that there are going to be a situation whereby a governor is purely independent and then members are not independent. Because that is actually one of the biggest tussles that we have in Meru, where a governor finds herself independent and the MCAs can be whipped in any other way. And then the last thing is that there hasn't been provision on the consequences of removing any other leader that is elected in a county, like for instance, a senator or a woman rep or other MPs, because one of the things that we also did see is that there was a lot of partnership, if I may say, and influence on MCAs from outside. Because some of the determinations that we made were based on videos of MPs saying very bad things. And charge number 3, which was on the vilification of leaders, was not just MCAs. It was vilification of other leaders who were elected. And therefore you see the invisible hand, or actually in this case, very visible hand, of other leaders who are other than MCAs, influencing MCAs to make certain decisions. And some of the things that they said against women and against this particular lady were things that are actually gross violations in themselves. And we have got things like hate speech and these kind of things. So we haven't had a process, for instance, that is clearly supposed to remove MCAs. Remember, if you read Article 80 of the Constitution on leadership legislation, any leader can be removed from office, and especially MCAs, under Article 194C. There has to be a legislation that Parliament should have enacted to also look at the conduct and behaviors of MCAs to the extent that they cannot be removed in the office. If we don't have those legislations put in place, then one of the things that can cushion the kind of political tension that we are seeing in Meru then becomes Article 192 of the Constitution, which talks about dissolution of that county if it's not functioning.
Yeah, because that was an option that the senators talked about by extent. But what impact would that have? But let me hear what Kagusha has to say. I know you're watching this from the National Assembly side. What did you make? What was the analysis of this entire fiasco out of Meru County?
Well, it has been a beehive of activities at the Parliament building. I've been seeing too much movement and crowding and a lot of push and pull and a lot of lobbying also happening in the Senate and National Assembly. And I particularly noticed that the whole of Meru capital was in Bunge. We had even problems on sitting space. Because they were all there. And probably what emboldens the Meru MCAs is what has happened in the past. You know, we have had very many attempts of impeachment in the National Assembly, with 2 of them succeeding so far. We had Governor of Nairobi and the Governor of Kiambu who were hounded out of office. And probably with that success, then it emboldened any other MCA who would want to see that happening. We have had other attempts which did not succeed. You remember when we had too much acrimony with Makueni County, where the governor had been impeached, I think, twice, up to some point when he himself, I think, applied for the dissolution of the county. We also had the same with Embu. We had the same with Nyeri. We had the same with Muranga. And for deputy governors, we have had, I think, Machakos and now Homa Bay recently. So it's something that has been playing out at the Senate. And probably this is what makes any other MCA think that they can use this route to impeach their governors and to handle political issues at home here in the city. And I would say that it's something that we need to rethink as a country. First, because the issue of impeachment is quite wasteful. And you cannot have a winner in this. I have heard some people say that they are winners in this battle that was there yesterday. I do not think they are winners. This one, you can only have losers. It's a lose-lose situation.
They all lose.
Yeah, they all lose in a big way. Both Governor Kawira and also the MCAs. They all lose. First of all, they lose on emotions, time, resources, and animosity, and I mean, name it. They are likely to suffer serious, even health challenges because of this kind of an attempt. And now, what I think we need to look at as a country is: do we need to have a leader who, a politically elected leader, or an elected leader who is then impeached by other elected leaders? Is that right? That me and you, we go and seek mandate from the public, then me come and impeach you.
So that should be rethought.
We should rethink. Yeah, because if we have to have any impeachment, let it be done by the same people who voted. Because
come from the people.
Yeah, we cannot exercise democratic right and freedom to elect someone, then you come and exercise an opposite or a contrary opinion to mine on your vote. And you have not come back to me for me to give you that mandate. I don't think that should be allowed. And I think that in itself was a misplaced arrangement in our constitution of 2010.
It was an oversight.
It was an oversight which we need to rethink. And the drafters may have meant well, you know, but the exercise of that right, I mean freedom now, has now exceeded really what the drafters of the Constitution would probably have hoped, because it was not meant to manage politics. It was meant to be, applied on a totally uncooperative and a rogue governor. But that is now, it has now gone beyond. Having said that, I noticed there was a lot of issues of women power claims. I would ask women not to put their feminism cries and push into this.
But isn't that where the tide changed, when you saw some leaders making very sexually abusive statements? Isn't that where the tides changed? Because even the senators here are saying that at some point it was almost at par because everyone was proving their point, but then they realized that there was some abuse that came in. Isn't that where it all changed?
Well, I think that is part of emotions that were played out in this. But what I would say is I have seen women celebrating, of course, overnight about this win. And they have said it's a win for women. I think they need to rethink this. Number one, because I did not see women voting. There are very few women who voted, if at all. I mean, just very few. Most of the people who voted in this were men. And so the women who are celebrating that they have won should actually be celebrating the men who voted for Kawira. Did these men vote for Kawira because she was just a woman? Have the other men governors survived because they were men? I don't think so. I think Senate had an opportunity of looking at Governor Kawira as Governor Kawira. And as women, what they need to do is to see how they can support Governor Kawira to be able to manage politics in a more organized manner. I was in Meru when they were, at the period when they were doing the politics and the election for the speaker. And I can tell you, Governor Kawira was completely out of this equation of the speaker's campaigns and elections. And I saw the people who are playing a key and pivotal role in this, critical role in this, are other players outside, you know. And I pitied her at that point when we was the governor, I mean the county government was actually being set up. Because I wondered, if you're a governor and you're not interested in the election of a speaker, then how are you going to be managing the county? Because you need to be, you need to manage politics. Because if you are a president, if you're a governor, if you're a senator, if you're a member of parliament, and you do not manage your politics properly, then politics will manage you. For example, if you are the member of parliament, and you don't get interested to know who becomes the chairman of CDF, automatically you're going to be in a lot of trouble in management of your constituency. If you're a governor and you completely have no clue or interest in who then becomes the speaker, you are likely to get into serious headwinds ahead.
Being a speaker yourself, so you know.
I would know.
Yeah.
I mean, if a speaker said there is not going to be impeachment, the impeachment will not happen. Okay. And a speaker himself can help to cool down the tide and to reconcile and to bring understanding. On your side. Not necessarily on your side. You just need a person who is of a certain level of thinking that understands and sees the bigger picture. Okay. Are you getting?
So was the governor
Trevor, I've been a speaker. I've been a speaker. I've been at the center of management of a county. Okay. And the truth of the matter is, for example, when I was a speaker, this is Nyeri County. Yeah. You know, Trevor, we even had one session here where we had very serious conflict and disagreement with our governor. Yeah. And I came here, I remember one day I came here with the head of AMREF, and we were looking at issues of health management at the county. And we had a report that we were actually indicting the governor. Okay. Are you getting on how we were managing the whole issue of COVID at that point in time? But at the same time, as a speaker, you have also a key role to understand and to see the bigger picture, not because you're on the side of the governor, but because you must be on the side of the people. Right. You might be on the side of the county. Yeah. You must ensure that the county runs smoothly at the end of the day. And so the issue of management of politics is very important.
All right. Yes, Onyonka.
Trevor, I would like to tell both of my brothers two things. Yeah. First of all, I want to remind Speaker Kawusha that, my brother, the Constitution was drafted where we actually basically have mirrored maybe 60% of our structure on the American constitutional system. It is not by accident that we have impeachment as one of the guardrails against mismanagement, against bad governance, against... If you go to the threshold which was given under the former Embu governor, you know, the Supreme Court gave us what they thought was the threshold of that. Number two, when you say that you don't understand why impeachment will be there and yet members of parliament, senators and all these people cannot be impeached, Honorable Kawusha, I don't handle, like in Kisi, 14 billion shillings a year. The governor does. So the threshold of his capacity and capability to govern and not mismanage money is higher than mine. For example, I am an oversight fella. What would somebody really want to impeach me about? And yet, we have other structures within our parliamentary system. You can have censure. Right now, you can have a case where Parliament, or I mean the National Assembly or the Senate, can actually make recommendation that a certain CS would have to be fired by the president. That is the structure that I see. That is the structure that I inherited. Number two, I've listened to my brother say that he thinks it was a lose-lose. No. If it was a lose-lose, then it means that what happened yesterday should never have happened. The truth is, yes, the political class in Meru has issues with Madam Kawira Mwangaza. Yes, you have the issues which have been coming out and they are political, and most probably some of these issues are sexist. So she's being punished and being put in that position. But we also know, Mr. Speaker, that Madam Mwangaza has got her own challenges. And those challenges have been the ones which took her to the first impeachment, and most likely is the one which has come to the second impeachment. What happened last night told me as a leader that the system actually works. The only thing that you need to do is make sure that the standards are higher, that we raise the bar, that because instead of us looking at the way she's governing and interpreting it and interpreting it in a certain manner, and yet in reality we've now come to find out that he's a lady who's an independent candidate, doesn't have the members of the county assembly. All the members of the National Assembly are from one party, UDA, and then it is nearly ungovernable. So what is it, for me, what I expect my brother Kawira to discuss is, what is it that we need to do to make sure that this system of impeachment on any leader is fine-tuned, it is made to be accountable. Like there's a bill that I'm informed somebody is supposed to be bringing to the House, so that we can create the, for lack of an easier term, the modalities and how you impeach somebody, and what are the rules and regulations, and how do you actually achieve that threshold, so that we don't go through what happened with us with Kawira Mwangaza and all that has happened. Finally, Trevor, I want to say this. The Speaker will always be elected because he's a friend, maybe, of the governor. But I don't think that is how the Constitution was actually designed to facilitate good governance. Because what is happening right now, you will find that the Speaker and the governor will collude. Once they have colluded, then they will now have a plan on how they are going to make it impossible. If you are on the other side, it will be impossible for you to defeat their team. Or if you succeed, and you're members of the county assembly, you are supposed to be frustrated. Going through the process of impeaching somebody should never be a matter which the Speaker decides. Once the members of the county assembly have decided that actually we feel that this leader has given us a problem and is not managing our county well, we now need to take him to task, or the threat of removal makes some of these leaders actually behave. The last point I wanted to make, Trevor, is from what Eddie said. I wanted to slightly disagree with him. Eddie, when you come to the county government, there's an act we have at the national, there's an act which was passed in 2012, which describes the responsibilities and role of a governor. One of them is political unity. The other one is good governance and management, the utilization of resources. The role of a governor as a political entity is very clear in our constitution. So the point for me, the one that I look at is, how are we going to be in a position whereby we allow governors do their jobs without unnecessary intervention, but how do we then have guardrails which control these governors not to misbehave excessively for us to get to where we are, where now we are having an impeachment. But finally, I think the performance, if you can call it that, the presentation of Madam Mwangaza as a governor, actually, to me, and the way I saw it, made many of our colleagues in the National Assembly think about her that she's better than she was last time. Because even the way she was answering questions, she was more prepared, she was more courageous. When the matters came in terms of explaining certain things, she was not even raising her voice. So members began to see her as somebody who maybe needed a second chance, and I think she got it.
Eddie?
I think we don't differ in any way, Senator Onyonka. I think the only thing that I was differing from is the notion that was being cast upon the Senate that is a purely political process. That's what I wanted to emphasize, that this is actually a legal process to the extent that you're enforcing when you say that there's been an enacted law on some political and governance responsibility to actually empower Article 181 of the Constitution that gives us grounds for impeachment. And I think that from what we saw the MCAs do, first of all, I don't agree that the MCAs were wrong. I think the MCAs were playing their role, and I think that Kawira is actually misinformed to the extent of the role of MCAs and the role of the Senate, because the functional element of these two entities is actually impeachment, that people elect them knowing very well that at some point of their duties, they will actually oversee a county government and be able to hold that county government responsible. And not only the county government, by the way, under Article 145, they are also holding the national executive, the presidency to be particular, accountable to the extent that if him in the National Assembly initiates a motion to impeach the president for the same kind of violations, the Senate would actually pronounce itself and be able to impeach the president. And I think it's a perfectly well thought through and well laid out procedure in the Senate. But the only problem, Trevor, that I wanted to say is that perhaps our MCAs need to understand that level of threshold, because I think that perhaps this was an issue that, because they were coming for the second time, by the way. Kawira Mwangaza was there. We were in a committee. I was personally in a committee that, checked on some of the issues that were brought. And the problem is the issue of being able to provide evidence beyond reasonable doubt. I think that if the MCA had taken their time, for instance, to bring us audited reports on financial issues and accountability, because there was the first issue that was brought on the issue of misappropriation of funds was an issue that needed absolute substantiation with serious reports. When you talk about other issues that claimed on the borderline of what my brother Said Onyonka is saying, then you need an EACC report, because this is an issue that had been put before EACC, and EACC hadn't pronounced itself on this. The EACC is still doing investigation. There's no report on this. If they're taken just a little bit more time to be able to gather this evidence, right, and be able to have authorities being able to pronounce themselves on this matter, it will be important. But as I finish, Trevor, I must tell Kagushe, and Kagushe should have followed the proceedings, because the third allegation on the verification of leaders was bordering the issues of sexist comments. It wasn't out of the blue that they said it was talking about these sexist and the way women are treated out of context. And the nation watched when the allegation on the side about things like verification is about the first gentleman singing and the governor dancing. And the Senate is being asked to punish the governor for the first gentleman's talent of singing. And Saida Karoli sang the song When You Were Jinyonge, which at that time, I think it was 10 years ago. I don't know that she was a part of Kawira Mwangaza's support team. And people were dancing to it. The deputy governor, under Article 179 of the Constitution, it says that the responsibility, executive responsibility of a county lies not only on the governor, but also on the governor and the deputy governor. You are asking us to hold the governor responsible for what the deputy governor is also enjoying. They should all be both held accountable. And then lastly, the sexist statements that were made, that Kawira Mwangaza said that I will deal with the cartels and all these leaders are cartel. And then it is put before us to compare that with the same men who have told Kawira Mwangaza, you are a prostitute, you are barren, you don't belong to Jerry County, you are a Kikuyu. I mean, hate speech purely. It's brought before you. How do you not see that as mistreatment of women? And then some of the gross, I can't even say them on TV. I'm telling you, when you saw the great things that some MPs said,
it was crazy,
to that lady, that is not how we treat our women. That's not how we treat our daughters. That's not how we treat our wives. And that is not how we can be able to allow any member of parliament to support that. In fact, I was surprised that some of those MPs who say the things that they said are not in EACC, or are not in committee. Those people belong to committee for treating a woman like that and any other woman. It was not out of context. It was not a gender card that was put on senators. It is pure presentation of how some men have treated women in this country, and you cannot support that.
I think I just want to disabuse one or two issues. Number one, Senator Onyonka says that the Meru County Assembly is UDA dominated. It's not. Meru County Assembly is Azimio leaning. If you were to strictly look at the coalition's factions. We have about 13 MCAs who are elected on UDA ticket. You have about 13 MCAs who are elected on Jubilee ticket. And you had another 13 MCAs who are elected on BAS. Then you had so many others who are elected on PNU, DP, Independent.
Actually, what I meant was
DPK,
that what I meant, my leader, what I meant was that Madam Kawira
is independent.
And these different political suasions that are outside her grasp is the reason why we are having the internal conflicts.
Yeah, I really wanted to disabuse that the County Assembly of Meru is a total mix of every other political party. Okay. Any party actually you can think of in Kenya is most likely having an MCA in Meru County. Okay. And we have quite a number of them also who are also independent. The other issue is the issue of impeachment. In our language, we say that when we say that a cow is fat, we don't mean that you slaughter it, you know. So when we say that you have been given powers to impeach, it does not mean that you start impeaching tomorrow. And for every small thing that you see with your governor, you start impeaching. And that is where I see the role of leadership comes in. Yeah. And it's very important for you to understand. At no one point did I say that a speaker need to be a friend to the governor. And it doesn't mean that even a governor need to get a friend to be the speaker. But leadership is very important. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, if you do not see the bigger picture at the county level, you are likely to spend more time in Senate pursuing, having empty fights that are not going to be beneficial to any person. And lastly,
the lose-lose situation.
It's really a lose. Let me come to that. But I also understand some people also look at the whole impeachment as a business. I don't know whether you know that. So there could be three parties here, two parties who might go home losing, and other parties that might also benefit. So some people would also wish there's more impeachment every other week. Anyway, let me not go there, because that is not important for this. That is not important for this. But I want to. I just want to say this. I just want to say this. Let me finish this. Let me finish my point. You know, you guys, you'll have your.
Let him substantiate.
He's a member of parliament.
You had your point. You'll still talk. You'll still have your time. Let me just finish. Let me just finish because I know Eddie has corrected me quite a lot this morning on the issue of women. I do not think probably Eddie would even have the local standard to talk about women than I do. I'm a father of girls myself. Only girls, by the way. And I am a very serious supporter of women and women empowerment. But I also think women also need to appreciate where men do it right. And this is really maybe where you did not get it. By me saying that the issue of women should not have come here, women chest thumping overnight, that they have won, what I said is that those women, instead of chest thumping that they have won, girl power, women power, they ought to have congratulated the Senate men who voted for Kawira Mwangaza to continue leading as a governor. Because the issues that my brother here, Eddie, has pointed out, the sexist issues that he has pointed out in the allegation number 3 or accusation number 3, are the issues that the men in Senate saw. And for that reason, saved Kawira Mwangaza. So you really need to understand. Are you getting? So what I'm saying is this. What I'm saying is I'm only responding.
You're both saying the same thing.
Yeah, we are saying the same thing, and I'm actually responding only on that issue. I mean, there were many accusations, and out of all those accusations, there's one that Eddie picked out on the issue of women to try and say that he's correcting me. But I'm also telling him that I was congratulating him as a man. He saw some of the sexist issues that were raised. Are you getting? And he defended women in that regard. And I'm also saying women should not have just thumped the whole night about how they have won. What they ought to have done is to congratulate their counterpart men in the Senate for having exercised their independence of thought.
Are you getting the Senator?
Trevor, you are still asking. No. I have not said that senators are in any way doing the wrong thing. Are you getting?
No,
are you getting? You never know. Yeah. Maybe someone had left Meru to come to Nairobi on a business trip, not on an impeachment trip. Are you getting? So Senators,
That is
by the way, you have a very good point.
Senators are good people, and they exercise their jurisdiction in the right way.
One of the reasons why why I celebrate Senate is because of the kind of kalongolongo talks and rumors that we hear from people like Gagushia. Because you cannot come to national TV and start disparaging women that there are women who are chest.
But Eddie,
let me finish.
But he's saying you stood with the women.
No, let me finish. Let me
you for having
finish.
stood with
No,
women.
but you are congratulating me with one mouth and then another mouth.
I have only one mouth, Mr. Eddie.
Disparaging the same men.
No,
Can I finish?
but is Eddie trying to say that I have two mouths?
Can I finish? You are disparaging the same women that there are some women who are chest stamping. I mean, who are these women who are chest stamping?
Ask me.
Are we discussing?
Ask me, I tell you.
No, this thing was being watched on national TV.
No, but
you can't come here with the rumors. And
not rumors.
Kalongolongo talks and
No.
All
right.
No.
All right.
It is
No,
wrong.
Gentlemen, we have to talk about the state of the nation now.
No, Eddie, but
I'm finishing. Let me just allow me to
30
finish.
seconds.
But of course,
aspersions
Yes.
on the Senate and the leadership is this. You are claiming that these institutions did impeachment that could have been, something that is a political process, something that is not worth it, when the one arm of government, which is the MCS, right, brought this issue. They had issue they were impeaching the governor, and then senators, in their own wisdom, had a contrary opinion. Why are you imputing proper motive on senators? That they might have been compromised.
Eddie, how many impeachments would you wish to have in a year?
No, it doesn't matter.
It depends on the crimes. It depends on the crimes and misdemeanors.
Impeachments, by the way.
Okay, all right. Let's take some feedback and then talk about the state of the address.
It looks like Gagushia had a candidate. The candidate lost.
What candidate?
Madam Mwangaza won. I don't know who his candidate was.
All right. Actually, let's take a quick break first, then we come back and read the feedback. Or we can bring that up and see what they're saying here online. Let's bring up and see what they're saying here online. Brian Chemwa says Meru Governor Kawira Mwangaza is a victim of patriarchal politics. The Senate of Kenya has stood above this petty politics and did the right thing. As for Murega Baichu, he should be left alone to walk around with his sweetheart. Okay. Let's see what you're saying here. Let's bring that up. Let's see what you're saying. Engineer Lazaro says President Ruto should address ever-rising costs of living, emotive issues of inclusivity, and youth joblessness. Otherwise, MCAs should stop being used as a cannon fodder to stagnate development in their various counties with unending impeachment. Okay? This is a conversation we're getting into in just a few moments now. Atanas Mavuti says the Senate is doing a great job in protecting devolution through standing with the people who elected the governors. In this case, Meru Governor, impeachment law should be strengthened to avoid governors from being held hostage by MCAs through petty accusations. Okay. All right, let's take a quick break now. When you come back, we're going to talk about the state of the nation. What should the president focus on? We'd like to hear your views on that at Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Daybreak. It's his maiden speech. It's happening this morning. All right, see you in just a bit.